everybody, this is DearMamaSal, and we are live on a Sunday afternoon, which means it's time for Soul Sunday. For those of you who are new to the broadcast, welcome. We do 3 a week. The one is on Friday, Pacific Daylight Time. One is on Friday evening at 7 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time. And then this one that we do on Sunday afternoon. Hi there, Trina. This is our Soul Sunday. It's a time to regroup. And first of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for choosing to just do something positive for yourselves. And I hope that you're giving yourself a really big pat on the back, because quite honestly, hi Jody, it takes effort to sign in and to join in and to decide that you're going to have a positive time. I want to give kudos here to Jody, and for those of you who don't know, Jody is our admin, and I just thought it was really good. She was telling me that during the night she woke up with some level of anxiety about what was going on, and then she realized that she needed to do something. You know, the way to get rid of the anxiety was to do something. And Jody, just all credit to you. That's you controlling your mind. Hi, Jonas, not your mind controlling you. And I just want everybody to give you a big hug and to congratulate you on doing, hi, Nana, and doing that work, all right, where you're going, this is up to me. I can either dwell on this and end up in depression, or I can do something. So congratulations to you and everybody else. I hope that you're finding that that works for you too, because it does. I'm spending at least an hour a day now, possibly 2 hours a day out in the garden, just to get my mind totally off, anything, lots of fresh air. Well, Jody's saying, thank you for the lesson, Sal. It's invaluable. Well, you know something? It took me a lifetime to learn that, Jody. And, once you've learned it, you can't unlearn it, if you know what I mean, unless you choose to. And I don't choose to. I don't want to ever be depressed again. So let's start with some really fun quotes. And by the way, if you have any updates on yourself or anybody else that you know we care about, please let us have them. And what I will do is I will update on the Facebook page after we have finished. And that's another thing I just want to mention, which is, please follow us on Facebook and Twitter, because that's where I announce updates on the extended family that we have here, or, the fact we're going to do a broadcast or something. All right, let me see if I can get this right. Jody's going to tell me, remember to click the subscribe button and hit the bell. When you hit the bell, you need to tell it that you want all notifications. Because I'm getting better, but because Jody's going to enable all notifications when you click the bell. There you go. Yeah, one day I'm going to get it all right. It's going to be so exciting. All right, so here we go, everybody. Let's take a moment. Never whine. Never complain. Never try to justify yourself. How many of you are learning that whining just isn't worth it? Either do something about it or shut up. And the other thing is trying to justify yourself. I put up something on my Facebook page this week, and then somebody that hasn't bothered to speak to me in about 3 years decided to chime in with negative feedback. And, I went back and, tried to ignore the negativity and say, hope that he and his family were well, And then he hit me again. and eventually, I now know the answer. I eventually wrote, you could be right. Or, yeah, I see your point of view. That was it. End of story. I just had to say that he was right and he shut up. It was fine. I don't necessarily think that, never mind, it's a long story. Richard Bach, who wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull and other great books, said sooner or later, those who win are those who think they can. Those who win are those who think they can. You're probably wondering why I'm wearing my Canada shirt. A number of reasons for that. One of which is I can. My body shape has changed enough that I can get back into it again. So I'm really proud of that. It's just like, it's any minute now, my frame will change again. But it's interesting that I'm literally getting into clothes, not because I guess I have lost 12 pounds or 13 pounds, but I'm getting into different clothes now, and it's just a great feeling. So what's that got to do with winning? Well, it feels like winning, right? Yeah, can, Ada. Yeah. Very good, Jody. Very droll. Thank you, Isabel. I appreciate that. Yep. So Benjamin Disraeli, a politician from way back, said, nurture your mind with great thoughts, for you will never go any higher than you think. All right? Don't dwell on negatives. Dwell on positives. Why? It feeds your brain. I was out there today planting some seedlings, and I understand that it's probably way too early, but me, I got to give it a try. And then I thought, well, we used to do this in England, but we had cloches. Does anybody know what a cloche is? It's like a glass frame that goes over seedlings. And I went, well, I can do that. By the way, I've ordered myself a mini greenhouse because obviously I'm going to be needing one in future. But, what I decided was I can make cloches. In fact, I've even got cloches. Have I got one here to show you? How many of you can see that this, with the bottom taken out of it, would make a lovely cloche for a plant? How many of you can see that? Wait a minute, let me get. One of my shoeboxes turned upside down. I'm not going to do it now. Would make a wonderful cloche, which is, by the way, what I did. I also took out a couple of clear plastic bags that I'm busy working with as well. So this is like, make a plan, because that's what we're going to be doing lots of in the future. It's not like I have to buy them. I just need to get creative and make them. Right. Albert Einstein said, weakness of attitude becomes weakness of character. Hi there, Beth. Right, Beth is saying, I have experienced anxiety at work from customers. They take comfort in telling me what they are dealing with in the new reality of the world. Some are positive, but most are negative. All right, so Beth, a wonderful opportunity for you to practice what I have discussed with you guys before. A part of doing DearMamaSal just means that I get a lot of negative stuff coming at me because people tell me very sad stories. And so to me, this is like, it is an opportunity, Beth, to listen to it, to address it, and let it go. All right? It's not your stuff, it's theirs. And it's a really good exercise to do. My attitude about listening to stuff that people tell me, as long as I'm focused on it, I feel it and I address it and I do what I can. But the moment I hit send with my answer, whatever, it's out of my court now. I clear it out of my brain. Does that make sense? Now, that doesn't mean I forget about it, because if it's something I will, as you know, Beth, right? If it's somebody that I care about and I'm concerned about, I will keep checking in every now and then to find out how they're doing. Yeah, Jody's saying I'm disappearing. I don't really feel that I'm seeing that, Jody, but I must be, because I'm getting into clothes that I couldn't. So somehow or another, something's going right. Trina's saying, aren't you lucky that you moved when you did, both with the market going forward and your garden to be creative? Absolutely, Trina. I give thanks for that every day. Every day I give thanks. I was saying to one of Marnie contacted me, and she said, how are you doing? And I said, I have absolutely nothing to complain about. I am fit and well. I have money in the bank and money in the house, because I bought some out of the bank and put it in my house. I'm not telling you where. I am somebody that is self-sufficient. I have a positive mentality. Therefore, I am luckier than so many. Hi, Sakura. Good to see you. Right, Beth is saying, I literally had to ask my employee to handle the next customer. I needed a moment to myself before Beth, good for you. That is good self-care. That is not you being weak. That's like, that touched my soul. I need to regroup. Well done. I'm proud of you for that, Beth. That means, do you realize that that is actually a very important milestone for you, Beth? Because the original Beth that I met, nothing would have touched her. She was numb. So I take that as a huge step forward, Beth. That touches my soul to hear that. That you not only could feel, but you knew that of course you felt bad for doing it, Beth. You've lived a lifetime not feeling. Duh. All right? So feeling is a very different thing for you, Beth. And so, but the fact that you felt it and realized you needed to regroup, that's standing ovation stuff as far as I'm concerned. I love this quote, and some of you will fight it and others will go, I see his point. It comes from Tony Robbins. And Tony Robbins said, whatever happens, take responsibility. All right? So Beth, feeling what she felt, took responsibility for herself and did something about it. Gave herself a quick break. That is, and instead of saying, well, it's not my fault, this is like, I felt that. I know I need to regroup. I think that's wonderful. Milton Berle, the comedian, said, if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. Hi there, Chip. Good afternoon to you as well. And thank you for taking the time to join us. I always say that, and I said it at the beginning, those of you who take the time to be here, you tell me that you want to be in a different space, that you want to feel in control of this, even though we know we cannot be in control of it. But what we can be in control of is us. Hi, Jeannie. Good to see you as well. Wow, it's great to see so many of you. By the way, Jeannie was telling me that she felt really good this week when she employed somebody to do something. I thought that was a very positive point, that they kept their social distance, but they needed something done. And so they found somebody and gave them a job, somebody who needed one. Jeannie, thank you for sharing that, because I thought that was so magical. How about this one? Difficult doesn't mean impossible. It simply means that you have to work hard. I want to go back to Jody's thing, all right? Jody suddenly woke up with anxiety. Was it easy for her to regroup, rethink, rebrand herself in that moment? No. It was difficult to do. And therefore, she worked hard at it. And, she deserves all the credit in the world. All right. And Jeannie's saying, and she made cloth masks that worked. Yeah, and that's what Jody is doing now. Is she is busy making masks as well for people. You see, and it will use your mind and your creativity and your logic and all sorts of things. It is such a good thing to do. Anything like that. I'm out in my garden. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to end up growing more vegetables than I'm going to need if I don't kill them all first. But, I'm going to end up sharing them with my neighbors, right? So this is like we're all doing something if we choose to. It is said that right attitude never takes you in a wrong direction. Right attitude never takes you in a wrong direction. How many of you have taken the time this week to contact somebody you know might be a little bit vulnerable? Jeannie is saying that she found some elastic and an old Navy t-shirt to cut up. Yes, it's amazing. And, don't forget the value of the coffee filters, as I showed you the other day. When in doubt, use half a coffee filter or a coffee filter folded in half, as well as the material. But if you happen to have a HEPA filter of some sort, that is even better. How about this one? Roy E. Disney said, when your values are clear, making decisions becomes easier. And how many of you agree with that? When you know what your values are, some of you have great faith, and therefore you have a set of values that is, a guidepost for your life. You know about helping other people. You know about not only thinking about yourself, you know about responsibility for the planet. You see, that is part of that learning. Sakura is saying, I had been slowly cleaning, and when my hands hurt because of dry skin, I take time to lotion and it helps a little, but still cracks. So I do as little as I can. Sakura, I don't often advertise products, but wait 1 second. Sakura, I really recommend there is a hand lotion that's specially made for gardeners, and it really works. All right, Jonas is saying, I called my grandma. I feel bad because I haven't visited her much over the past year. She was over the moon to hear from me, and she sent me some knitted slippers. Ah, right. So she is thinking of you too, Jonas. Right. It's not about us. It's what can we do for others. Jeannie is saying, I called my friend who's 92 to check up on her, and she and a friend are doing a 500-piece puzzle. Yeah, that's what my sister is busy doing. And she's finding the 500 ones a bit easy. I actually took time yesterday, Jeannie, and I don't do that very often. I took time, regardless of the mess, wherever it was, to sit down. And I think I spent about 3 hours doing online jigsaw puzzles just to get my mind absolutely clear and settled. I'm trying to think what it's called. And I had it here. I had it here because I was using it at some point. Hang on. I'm thinking, Sakura, that if you just Googled gardener's hand lotion, you're going to come up with some options. Okay. But they make it, and it's extra lubricating for hands. Yep. All right. So, and I'm pretty certain that Jodie's on it already, trying to find it. I think mine's just called Gardener's Friend or something. It's some really easy name that tells you exactly what it does. Right? It's not either of those. Jeannie's saying Corn Huskers is one brand and Bag Balm is another. Yeah. Yeah. So, there are lots of really good, and I would recommend that if you have problems. I personally, as you know, changed the look of my face completely, my skin, by using Lubriderm with cocoa butter. And it totally moisturized my skin, and I think it took 10 years off me. It is good people who make good places. So to all of you, thank you for doing good, for wanting to help not only yourself but others by being here. How about this one? The real cost of success. Early mornings, late nights, very few friends, feeling overwhelmed, being misunderstood, and questioning your sanity. How many of you understand that if you've ever tried to do something and found yourself so motivated that you got up earlier than normal, that means that you were on a success path? And by the way, if you were up later than normal, that's also true. If you found that you really didn't have time anymore for certain friends, the pretend friends, that you were feeling overwhelmed with what you needed to do, and that if not everybody understood what you were trying to do, and there were moments when you go, I must be out of my mind to do this, then the chances are you're being successful in whatever it is you're trying to do. And this one, a positive attitude gives you power over circumstances, instead of your circumstances having power over you. Think about that, all right? We're going to need to spend a lot more time checking our attitude, and can we keep our attitude above the circumstances? Especially those of you in the States, I know that the figures in the next couple of weeks are going to get to be horrific, more horrific than they already are. And that is sad and heartbreaking. I was saying today that, give a thought, if you can, for all those people who are normally on things like 12-step programs and who do not have internet or maybe even a roof over their head, and are struggling with addictions that they now cannot get any help with because of social distancing. And, they can't check in with us and get a mental reboot. They are likely to go back to being addicted. And to me, that was really sad, but there is very little that I can do about it. So I need to be aware of it and start thinking of, what is possible. I'm not 100% sure. Jody was telling me that some places are actually creating ways for the homeless to be able to get to internet so that they can contact people. Take a step out of your comfort zone and then reward yourself. You deserve it. All right, so Jeannie's saying, This is considered a really bad week. The priest today, live streaming, gave a great homily on how we are experiencing part of Christ's struggle. Yes, and this is the week for those of you who are practicing Christians. You know, as we go into this is Palm Sunday, obviously, and as we go through the week, I also find it somewhat fortuitous, if you like, that we're having all this happen in Easter week, particularly. And so I think, Junie, that's a very interesting way to be able to look at it, and a great analogy for your for that priest to give. Sakura is saying it will get worse numbers soon because Boeing is going back to normal work tomorrow. Wow, that is insane. I'm praying for my husband and his co-workers. He has some co-workers die of COVID. And a lot of cases over there. Yeah, you know, the fact that Boeing is going back into production in that's in Washington, right? We need to make sure everybody knows that Washington State was the first state to get affected in that way, and it'll be. I'm scared to say interesting, but I think they'll be keeping a very close watch on that, Sakura, to see, you know, do the numbers spike again because of it. And if so, you will be back in quarantine, I'm pretty sure. When your values are clear, as we said, you know, making decisions will be clearer. So everybody's got to look at that and go, by bringing my workers back to work, I could be giving them a death sentence. So they need to be very careful. Very careful indeed. Oscar Wilde said, every saint has a past and every sinner a future. How many of you have ever spent time helping the less fortunate in your life? And I found one of the most interesting things talking to people that we consider to be sinners was how much they taught me. How much they taught me about survival, how much they taught me about attitude, how much they taught me about, you know, sometimes success is so fleeting. I cannot tell you how many people I met on Skid Row who actually had been incredibly successful business people, but they just took one path. One decision was wrong, and they ended up losing everything, literally everything. Yeah, Jeannie's saying it is awful that some churches are holding services with a huge amount of people coming together. I saw a news clip on that as well, Jeannie, and how ignorant of the priest. And, you know, when they interviewed the priest, he said, I know whether my people are sick. What he apparently doesn't know is you can be as healthy as I am and be a carrier. You know, so that's what made me angry. It's like, how arrogant of you. And, you know, I think quite honestly, that ministers doing things like that should be, you know, should be condemned in some way. All right, so you're saying not a priest, a minister. Okay, so, you know, Ginny, I understand that you understand the difference, okay? But just for the sake of everybody listening, some people call them priests and some people will call them ministers. So that's just as long as everybody understands, right? It's hard to help when people whisper at you negatively, but it's so satisfying to help and prove the negative people wrong. Yeah, you know, I always tell the story, Sakura, about one time I happened to see a neighbor across the street And as you all know, I study body language, and I watch body language more than I listen to words. And I could see by her body language something was really wrong with her. And I ran across the street and said to her, "What's wrong?" And she said that she wasn't quite sure what was wrong, but something was horribly wrong. And she was just about to drive to the hospital. And I said, "Well, if something is bad enough that you think you need to be in hospital, you're not driving, honey. So come across the street with me, or stay here." I think I said stay here. And I got my car and I picked her up and I took her to hospital. And when I was there, it was really interesting, because when I was there, I saw a person in a bed that had obviously been brought in from a car accident. And being who I am, I walked across. I said to, I got my neighbor all settled, and I walked across. I said to my neighbor, "Hang on a second. I see somebody in need. I'll be right back." And I walked across to this person who obviously was in some level of shock and everything else. And I said, "Hi, my name is Sal. Is there any way in which I can help you?" And she looked at me and she came back with, "What are you, a candy striper?" And I realized how much in shock she must be. And so I said to her, "No, I'm not a candy striper. I actually am a friend of the lady in that bed right there. But I saw that you've obviously come in from an accident, and I wondered whether there was anybody I could phone for you. But I'm going to give you a little moment to think about that, because right now obviously wasn't the right time to ask you." And I turned to go, and she said, "No, stop." And I said, "Sure." She said, "How kind of you." I said, "Well, I'd want somebody to do it for me. Who can I phone?" And then she said, "Can you phone my husband?" And I said, "Of course. Where would I find his number?" And then guess what? I managed to find the number, and I went out and I went and called the husband and said, your wife is here in emergency. And I happened to be in there with a friend. I thought I better tell the story before he thought I was somebody weird. Anyway, but what I'm trying to say is that sometimes when you're trying to help somebody, the reaction you get may be totally the opposite of that you deserve. um, it's amazing, isn't it? But luckily I understand people enough to realize that she was not in her normal mind. Right? Luckily, by the time we'd finished talking, she was. Every next level of your life will demand a different you. How many of you know that right now the world is going to demand of you um, a greater set of gifts than you had maybe a year ago? You're going to learn survival. You're going to learn to help one another. You're going to learn, hopefully, to keep coming and supporting one another. And in a way that is different. Not because you have to, but because you want to make a difference in somebody's life. Jeannie saying, "York and I saw a man in the middle of the road. He had been hit by a car, but people were just driving by." Yeah, and we decided to help traffic go around him until the police came. Good for you. Hi, Erin. Yeah. I can remember when I was in Africa, actually coming across somebody who'd obviously been hit by a car. And, it's amazing how your instinct it comes into play, because I immediately ran to the car to get a blanket to put over the person on the road, because obviously they would be in shock. and it was winter anyway. And, I remember somebody saying, but you ruined your beautiful blanket. And I said, I don't think so. I really don't think so. Stephen King said you can, you should, and if you're brave enough to start, you will. Right. So for those of you deciding to make masks and do things like that, thank you. Oprah said, be thankful for what you have, and you'll end up having more. And Robert Schuller, the minister, said, problems are not stop signs, they are guidelines. How many of you have noticed that sometimes a problem leads you to an answer that you've been trying to find on another issue? And that always amazes me when that happens, where I'm thinking, wow, I thought that was a problem, but I ended up finding something in trying to solve the problem. I ended up finding something I'd been looking for months, or whatever. And so now it's like a problem is just an answer you haven't found yet. Duke Ellington said, a problem is a chance for you to do your best. It was so funny because Jody was telling me yesterday that she couldn't find any elastic to buy. And, without thinking, I'm going, well, they're hair ties and they are, you could make cloth straps that could be tied. And, I was sort of reeling off things. And then I stopped and I said, I'm so sorry, Jody, you didn't even ask for help. and here I am, giving answers. It's just what I do. And I realize that part of, I'm a problem solver. That is my nature, to be a problem solver. And, without even thinking. Christopher Reeve, right? Superman that ended up quadriplegic, said, once you choose hope, anything is possible. Once you choose hope, anything is possible. Hi, Rinsky, good to see you. Part of the conversation that Jody was having was, that Jody, you got everything set up, right? You got the sewing machine ready and the material ready and everything else. The next quote also comes from Stephen King, and he said, the scariest moment is always just before you start. So have you done a prototype yet, Jody? Oh, you found ribbon today. There you go. And Jody's saying, I also welcome the input, Sal. Thank you. You opened my mind to options. I also found rubber bands. Yeah, it's just like, I was sort of going, she didn't even ask for help, Sal. Shut up. But, I'm a lateral thinker, Jody, as I think you know. And so to me, it was the same thing. I don't have cloches to put over my seedlings. Yeah, that's okay. What do you have? Got a stack of clear plastic bags that you overbought for the move. Jody's going, no prototype yet. I've downloaded the pattern. Tomorrow is day one. Well, I'm sure we're all going to be really interested in seeing your first prototype. And, as with everybody, Jody, the first one might not be your best one. many of you know Gary Vaynerchuk? Very, very well-known YouTuber, and he said, positivity always wins. Always. She's making masks for her community. Well, that's she's going to be. Shannon L. Alder said, I will never give up on what I love. I will never back down. I will never let go of anything that is important to me. You know, one of the things that I've always said about being Dear Mama Sal is, you know, I know in my heart that I spent a lifetime preparing to do Dear Mama Sal in my own way. And, you know, it's like, I've had so many people, you know, poo-poo it and da-da-da, and I go, you know something? I just love that I am able to bring people together, people who want to learn, people who want to grow, people who are a little bit scared or a little bit anxious or whatever. I just love that we can get together and help one another. And, you know, quite honestly, that makes my day. You know, that is possible to do. I'm hoping that when you guys come to a broadcast, that you also go away from a broadcast knowing that you've helped somebody by being here. And sometimes you really don't know just what an impact that has on somebody. John Connor said, could you come back and stay a while? I want to hear your voice and see you smile. I want to hold you tight and never let go, and tell you how much I love you so. And again, make sure that you find a new person to call this week and tell them you were thinking of them. The most important thing is to look ahead. The past is your anchor. Rinsky is saying these are wonderful quotes. It's my pleasure, Rinsky. One of the things I really enjoy doing is being led to the right quotes for a week. And when I say being led, I'm never quite sure. And I have to say that. And I always trust that, yeah, the all-powerful being will guide me into the right quotes for that particular week. So thank you for appreciating them, because it just tells me it still is the best way. Normally, I wouldn't do these sort of quotes on Soul Sunday, but it felt right, and therefore I did it. Sakura is saying, I don't know if I help, but I know I'm helped get perspective and positivity. I want to tell you, Sakura, you have helped an awful lot of people in your time without you even realizing it. You know, as has Jody, as has Nana, as has, you know, everybody here. Isabel, you know, you all in your own way have helped other people. Beth has been inspiring for so many. Erin has been inspiring for so many, you know, and so just remember, it's about just showing up in life. Most people don't bother to show up. Right? They don't want that routine of showing up. Yeah, Jody's saying, Sakura, you absolutely help. You each add beauty and a unique element to the bouquet of friends. Isn't that nice? She has a way with the words, right? And how about this one? You just can't beat a person who never gives up. Right? You just can't beat a person who never gives up. Rinsky saying, I was inspired to grow my own vegetables because of you, Mama Sal. Thank you so much for that. Well, I'm having such fun growing mine. By the way, the onion's doing really well. Hang on. That was just the bottom bit of an onion. And look at it. I am pretty sure that just the leaves alone, should I want to use them, will give me all the onion flavor I need in a dish. And for those of you who watched me put my growing butter lettuce in water, by the way, only put the water to the roots, not to the stalk. If you put it to the stalk will get moldy. But look at these leaves, people. Don't you think that's great? You know, when it started, it was just like this, right? So anything here is what I have grown. And all I do is I just change the water every day. Yes, Erin, I quite agree. Erin's saying we will hold each other up and inspire each other. Absolutely. Jody's saying, Rinsky, that's great. I'm living vicariously through Sal's gardening adventures. I'm having quite a blast, right? Sakura saying, I got London fruit and had so many seeds, and I'm germinating them now in 2 ways. Good for you. By the way, I have germinated. Do you want to see how I do that? I found this great germinating system. So if anybody would like to see it, let me know. I've germinated cantaloupe that I had in the fridge, and I've germinated, squash. Hang on. It really is easy. Okay, so all I do is I take some paper towel and wet it. And then I put the seeds in, and then I put another piece of towel over the top of it. Okay. Now these seeds happen to be mixed lettuce. These are real seeds, okay? But here, once they start to sprout, okay, I leave them in their little envelope of paper towel, and I put them at the bottom, and then I just put some earth over the top. And here we go. This is, I think this is cantaloupe. All right. So looking good. So, you know, and I've grown my first tomato seed from one that was in I grew my first tomato seedling from one of these. What I did is I just cut it in about 3 pieces, and each piece had lots of seeds in it. And I thought, well, they're probably already nuked or something. And I thought there's only one way to find out. So I cut it like that. I didn't do anything more. I just put it between paper towels. And by the way, you notice that I've put it in a plastic container, and I put the lid on until they start sprouting. Got it? So, anyway, those are the ones that I grew. I was so excited. So every day I go and have a look and go, what grew? What grew? What sprouted? Cantaloupe has spaghetti squash, basically nearly pushed the lid off the top of my container. I couldn't believe how much that grew in a week. All right, and Maya Angelou, who we all love, said, try to be a rainbow in somebody else's cloud. Try to be a rainbow in somebody else's cloud. Yeah, I don't know why, Sakura, but just taking the bottom of an onion and having it grow that much. No, I don't spray the paper towel every day because it's in its own greenhouse. I put the lid on it. No moisture is escaping. Does that make sense? I just wet the paper towel and then put it in a greenhouse like this. Now, obviously, I spritz this every day because it's open to the air now. The journey continues. Before you speak, listen. Before you write, think. Before you spend, earn. And before you invest, investigate. Before you criticize, wait. And before you pray, forgive. And before you quit, try. Jody is saying, oh, okay. Sakura's saying, yes, I will transfer mine. I feel like I'm drowning it. Yes, don't drown it. Just wet it. All right. What I do, let me tell you how I do it. Maybe that will help you, Sakura. I will take a piece of paper towel like so. I will run it under the tap, under the faucet, and then I'll hold it like this until it drips, basically stops dripping. Make sense? And then I will, put it in the container, put the seeds there, and then cover it up. So both sides are wet. And that's all, hi Neosha, and that's all the moisture that the seeds need to germinate. And I let them germinate in a sealed container. It works. When this one sprouted, I want to tell you, you probably nearly heard me in the States because I was so excited. This and the spaghetti squash was incredible. Do I leave it in the sun? No. No, I've just got it by a window. It's all a big game with me, you know that. It's how I amuse myself. Positive anything is better than negative nothing. Right? How many of you can see the joy I get out of doing this? All right? And the strange thing is, my sister was so impressed with what I did with the butter lettuce and the carrots that she's starting to do the same now. And, this is like, hey, let's try it. And how about this one? Helen Keller said, we can do anything we want to do if we stick to it long enough. I am prepared to fail. That is, I think, one of my greatest gifts. Do any of you understand what I'm saying in that? I do not link my self-worth with failure, right? If this hadn't grown, I would have just said, okay, well, I obviously didn't do that the right way. Let me try another way. Right? And I'll keep going until I go, that works. Now let me remember what I did for the next one. So guess what? The next one is already in process. So you see, to me, it's all about fun. It's like a jigsaw puzzle to me. It's creative and it's fun. I did not expect this to happen from my butter lettuce, but I'm going to treat myself and eat some of those leaves this week. I'm trying to work out how many of these do I need growing. And by the way, a wine glass is the perfect way. But remember, only as far as the roots. Only have water up as far as the roots, not to the actual core. I'm having such fun with it, really. So these are different lettuces that I happen to have. This obviously is a green leaf. You know what I call it? They're all green leaf, so seriously. It's a green leaf lettuce, so yeah. Can I plant that lettuce? Yeah, I could. I'm not going to, because I'm pretty sure you all want to see how long I can keep it alive just hydroponically. All right, so Jody's saying, I answered a question on Facebook earlier. It asked us to explain what gave you joy today, and I told of your worm farm, my worm myrtle, the gardening, how I love to see your joy. Yes, I talk to the worms every morning as I feed them. Yeah, my 5-star guests, they're eating very well. So yes, I could plant it, I guess, if it were warmer. It's still a little cool, but you know, I want to see how long I can keep it in a wine glass. And literally all I do is I pour out the water once a day, and I put clean water in there. Plus, to be fair, I do have some plant food stuff, Miracle Grow type stuff, and I dilute it, and then I just sprinkle it on in a very diluted form, but I know it's getting nutrients then. So when I put the new water in here, right, I will also give it a squidge of good stuff. All right, there we go. So how many of you agree that we can do anything we want to if we just stick to it long enough? You love my slippers. I do too. I forgot that I was wearing them. They're very cozy. Albert Einstein said, I am thankful to all who said no to me. It is because of them that I am doing it myself. And I will say that I do not see life as pass and fail. I see life as a big experiment, right? So that's really important when you're gardening or whatever. I do not expect to create the bumper crop of all time in my first year of making my own kitchen garden. I intend to be quite ready to make a lot of compost, which I'm already doing. But, you know, I just need to say that. Yes, Jeannie's saying being stubborn can be of great value. Yeah, so anybody says that you're stubborn, thank them. Go, thank you. How kind of you to say that. It's not what the reaction they were expecting, by the way. All right, so Niesha's saying the lettuce should stay perfect within the wine glass up until your desire to plant it in your garden. Just place it in the sunlight. You know, I want to see, I don't know about how many of you also would like to see how long it lasts. giving leaves just like that. What I'm trying to work out is how many lettuces do I need to have going to give me enough lettuce for a week? That's what I'm trying to find out. Yeah, that's what I want to know. I'm thinking I'm probably going to need at least 6 lettuces in production in any given week. So that's what I want to see. Yeah, so I'm gonna leave that butter lettuce exactly where it is. And I have planted these in some earth just because I wanted to see what happens, you know. But I want to, if I can, just leave them in here because this is quite a nice size container to have on my windowsill. And it's at the moment got 2 different lettuces in there. Charlie Brown said, "Keep looking up. That's the secret of life." I thoroughly recommend that you plan every day in case you wake up tomorrow. You know what I mean? How many of you heard the Queen's speech? And, you know, it was magical when you think of her age and everything else, but it was an incredibly good speech. It was an empowering, uplifting, and what I consider to be the perfect speech for a country in crisis. She was so calm and so incredibly gracious, and she accentuated the positive and didn't play politics at all. But perhaps the best part of it of all, the part that's going viral, is the fact that within it, she quoted Vera Lynn's song from the wartime, "We'll Meet Again." And, you know, she was saying that we will see our friends again and we will see our families again. And then she sort of just went, "And we will meet again." Um, and Vera Lynn is still alive. She's 100 and something, I believe. And, you know, you can imagine she did not expect to be trending today. But you know how many people are listening to the songs, the wartime songs that Vera Lynn produced a lifetime ago? It's incredible. And so, Dame Vera Lynn, thank you. And to Her Majesty, thank you for being so human in that moment. I thought it was, and you know, whoever wrote that speech, I don't know who her speechwriter is, but whoever wrote that speech, boy, it was, talk about 4 words. Will is 1 word. We'll meet again. 3 words that ended up having that much impact and will take that speech around the world being viral. Amazing. Now then, this one's going to be a bit difficult for some of you, so can you take a deep breath, please? Next time you think of wonderful things, please don't forget to think of yourself. Judy, I'd like that to be my quote of this week. Next time you think of wonderful things, please don't forget to think of yourself. And how many of you believe that you are wonderful? The fact you're alive is wonderful. The fact that you have today's technology is wonderful. The fact that you know how to use it is wonderful. The fact you can afford to use it is wonderful. And there's part of me going, if you have to in some way downsize your technology, will you get rid of your television before you get rid of your computer? You know what I mean? It's like we may have to make those decisions. And how many of you, already have said you don't need a landline? My mobile phone is enough. Funny enough, I'm really slow on that one. So, sorry, I just want to get some more of these quotes going for you. Come on. There we go. How about this one? Happiness often sneaks in through a door that you didn't even know you had left open. I love that. Jeannie's saying God created each of us. Yes, he most certainly did. And Niasha says, Mama Sal, I'm curious to hear how you would encourage someone in this situation. Those who've been succumbed to this illness. No one can gather again to comfort their loved ones. It is not fair. No, of course it's not fair, Niasha. Life isn't fair. The worst thing is that we cannot gather to say goodbye to loved ones. So be prepared, not scared. Be prepared to lose somebody and you won't be able to go to the funeral. Jody just went through that. It is possible to do. It is a mentality. So be prepared, not scared. All right? So if there are people ill, and there are so many, you can still talk to them via whatever technology you have. Nurses are doing a wonderful job of setting up FaceTime and Hangouts and anything else for people so they can talk to their loved ones. All right? So I think, again, big kudos to all the nursing staff who are careful and caring about that, who understand how important it is. I was watching a newscast yesterday of a woman who had to say goodbye to her mother via today's technology. But she was so grateful to be able to do it at all. And I think, again, this is like, don't concentrate on what we can't do. Please, Niasha, concentrate on what we can and be thankful for it. All right? As soon as you concentrate on what we can't do, you will be miserable. I can guarantee it. Yeah, Jody's saying we are so grateful for our FaceTime calls. We were so grateful for our FaceTime calls when my father-in-law was so ill and we were so many miles apart. Yeah, that's a can-do attitude, not what can't we do, but what can we do to keep in touch. Hi, Marie, good to see you. Yeah. So I don't want to make this too religious for those who are not. But Jeannie's saying there is a prayer that Catholics are saying because we cannot receive communion. We are grateful to receive God into our hearts. Absolutely. And that is what communion is all about. All right. And so to me, it's like, I'm a believer, and I believe that God totally understands what's going on, right? He must do. Created it. And yes, just saying it upsets me why I asked, is my family just, your family just passed away? There was a person who died, a beautiful individual, but because of the social distancing, my family and others couldn't go. No, absolutely. And so, by the way, Nyasha, I don't know how to say this nicely, but it really doesn't make a difference to the person who died. all right? The person who died isn't going to worry about the fact you weren't there, all right? It matters to be seen, to be caring and grieving for that person. And what the learning is about is to learn that you can still do that. You can do it after the pandemic has finished. People will hold memorials for their loved ones afterwards. Jody, your family is planning one in May, I believe, or June, sometime, like that. All right? Beth is saying there is a church in my area that refuses to not hold services every Sunday. They said that God's blood will save them. Yeah, Beth, I actually think there should be a law about that myself, but that's just my view. I think they are actually committing murder in some strange way. And I'm sorry that I feel so strongly about that. Yes, Jeannie's saying this is ignorance, God helps those who help themselves. Yeah, we need to be safe if we want to survive, right? And to my mind, anybody who is following a church that is still meeting like that is to me, it's a bit cultish. You know what I mean? If you believe that you still have to do that in order to follow God, then you are in some sort of a cult. You're not in a true religion. Because to my mind, no minister, priest, whatever you want to call them, is going to tell their congregation to put themselves at risk. I was actually, quite honestly, I was a little horrified that the Pope said to his priests that they should be brave and visit the sick. And I'm going, yes, I understand the thought, but if he'd said, be brave, visit the sick, but be properly protected, I would have been happier. Right. And Jody's saying, my doctor said there is no way I can be exposed to that many people. I'm high risk. I am as well. It's funny. I went out to give my car a run yesterday, and somebody said to me, did you, get out and to go shopping or do anything? I said, no, I'm high risk. I am absolutely high risk. Therefore, I went to take my car out for a run. That was my purpose. That's what I did. I never got out of the car. I just drove it for over half an hour to charge up the battery. And then I brought it home and told it to behave itself for another couple of days. Beth is saying there's another church that is holding Easter service at a drive-in theater so people can gather but stay in their cars. I still think that's risky, but I don't know. Yeah, I think that's creative. All right, because that's social distancing. Now, if they've all got their car windows open so that they can all sing together, that perhaps is a little bit more risky. But, I think if it might be even better if they had every other place free, right? So there's more than average social distancing. Yeah. And Ginny's saying, Jody, I ask you to be safe. I think we're all asking each other. As I said, be prepared, not scared. All right? Be prepared. How many of you are beginning to feel lonely already? Anybody? And before Jody reminds me, I better get the countdown ready. I'm in my third week of isolation. I'm not quite sure when Canadians are coming out of their enforced quarantine, but I have no intention of coming out of it until, I'm tracking the numbers every day. And I will keep very strong watch on that curve. Beth is saying, I'm now wearing a mask every day, and my co-workers saw that, and now they're wearing one too. Good for you. That's called being a role model. And I thank you for saving people's lives, not only yours, but other people's lives because of it. You know, it's interesting, Maria's saying, I stayed home a lot before the virus, but I still went to school, but now it is just lonely not seeing my friends. It's as lonely as you want it to be, all right? You know, if you concentrate on being lonely, you're going to be miserable. If you concentrate on being alive, to be able to talk to them again when this is over, I would recommend that. And, you know, get on the phone, get on FaceTime. You've got the ability. You know, it's not that you can't contact them. It's not like the Wild West, you know. You can talk to them all day long from the comfort of your bed if you want to. Jeannie's saying, we have to take the dog to the vet tomorrow. We stay in the vehicle and wait for Jer to be examined. They will bring her back to us when she's taken care of. There's always a way, exactly. Nyasha saying, today our country developed a new law of wearing masks in public. We've never done that. Yeah, exactly. There are going to be lots of new things. Beth is saying, I have to go outside more often because it's hard to breathe and stock at the same time. But I will just take more breaks. Oh, it's hard to breathe and stock. All right, because of your mask. Okay, got it. All right. I'm sorry to hear that your dog has an ear infection. What I did want to ask you, Jeannie, is I noticed how many times, yeah, I got it, Beth. I understand. It took me a while for that to process, but eventually that information got to my 2 brain cells and they went, oh yeah, with her mask. I got it. Hi, Shalina. Good to see you. Jeannie, I notice how often you and York are going to do things together. Is that not doubling the risk, is my question. Just a thought. Shalina says, hello, Mama Sal. It's been a while since I've been here, but I want to take a moment to say that me and my family are fine. Nice to see you and everybody doing so well in this trying time. We're so grateful to be alive, Shalina. All right, so Jody's saying Canada doesn't have a set date yet, as far as I can see, but the Prime Minister said no crossing provinces and stay in. Yes, stay home. I must admit that I am very proud, continue to be very proud to be Canadian. All right, let's do the countdown, people. Here we go. We have got 10 months and 2 weeks until Valentine's Day. And we have 263 days until Christmas. Anybody started their Christmas baking yet, or sorting out your recipes, or doing something towards Christmas? I think I should try some and quality control them. What do you think? That would be fun. We've got 7 months and 29 days until the cards have to go in the mail. Yeah, why do you take the dog together? You said you went shopping together as well, Jeannie. That's why I asked. It's none of my business, quite honestly. But I care about you enough to go, isn't that taking twice the risk every time you go together? All right, so Jody's suggesting that I quality control some chocolate-dipped marshmallows. That requires that I wait for at least 2 weeks because I'd have to order them in, the marshmallows. I don't have any at the moment that I found. We have 7 months and 3 weeks until US Thanksgiving, and we have just 6 months and 9 days until the Canadian one. We have ours a month earlier. So taxes for those of you in the US, right, are 3 months and 11 days away. And for the Canadians, we are actually just 1 month and 27 days away from needing to file our taxes. I wonder whether that'll get extended again. I have a feeling it will. Summer is now 75 days away if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, and winter is 75 days away if you are south of the equator. Easter, of course, will be next weekend. And I just continue to ask you all to do what you can. Think about what can you do, not what can't you do. And there are so many ways we can attend all the services we want to because we have the technology. Um, all right, so Beth is saying prayers for my store manager. She fell at work, oh gosh, and hit her head. She had 10 stitches. I'm acting store manager for 10 days while she recovers. Well, we know you can do that pretty easily, Beth. So, yeah, thoughts and prayers for her. Jeannie's saying thank you. I have trouble keeping York in. I have begged him to stay at home, but he has trouble with this. I've even called him selfish. I've stopped him from going many times. Yeah, I you know something? I hear this quite a bit, Janie, that men are having more problems with this than females. So here's the thing: if he insists on going, let him go on his own. If he says no, I'm going, you go fine, then you go, and I'm staying. Right? I actually needed to get out, but if you insist on going, then I insist on staying. Because more than one of us going out is doubling our chance of infecting ourselves or infecting somebody else. Oh, but we haven't got it. We don't know that we're not carriers, would be my answer. And Yasha said, I wanted to update you guys on the ice cream. I made it and it tasted good, but I misjudged and put too much sugar. Yeah, what a terrible thing. So I'm going to leave it for a couple of days in the fridge, hoping to limit the sugar taste. Yeah, no, it sounds like a second batch is required. Yes, you make a second batch. Boy, what a terrible thing to do, put too much sugar in there. Why am I laughing? How can there be too much sugar in ice cream? Any sugar in ice cream is bad for me, so I don't know why that amuses me so much. And for those of you who've been keeping track, I moved here into my new house just 2 months and 24 days ago, and I have owned it now for 1 month and 23 days. It seems forever, doesn't it? And Beth is saying, you would not believe how many customers we have at my store, not for necessities, but for random useless stuff. We are breaking all sales records for 144 stores. Crazy, stay home, people. I quite agree. Beth. But you know, some people just won't listen, and they're the people that will make us all sick. Jody's saying Lionel is having a difficult time sometimes. I notice he'll stay until I'll run to the store if you need anything, if you need XYZ. And then I ask him not to. I've prioritized my list. Yes. You know, I think the same way, Jody. You know, I allow myself to have delivery of groceries once a week. But you may say, you know, now we're only going to take the risk once a week. Sakura is saying, I'm glad Fabian is a homebody, so it breaks us that he has to go to work. He wants to stay home with me. These 14 days flew by too fast. Yeah, she's in Washington, and Fabian's about to go back to Boeing. Beth, I saw a 3-week-old in the store today, and I had to hold my tongue. Yeah, I would as well, Beth. I probably wouldn't. You know me. Jody's saying my neighbors were gathered in their yard yesterday, at least 8 of them in a huddle. Really? They must think that they are immune or something. Oh, Nyasha also added flour to her ice cream. Yeah, that's definitely a no-no. So the next making will be no flour. It's your first time. I wanted to turn it creamy. Yeah, not with flour, honey. But you know, that's what I'm saying, Nyasha. The fun is in the experiments, all right? So this is called, you know, think about it. You know the guy that created the light bulb, Nyasha? You know, Edison, you know that guy? He created the light bulb. Do you know he failed to make it right over 30,000 times? And every time he failed, he said, I have found one more way in which it doesn't work. Let me move to the next one. Because he knew he would eventually get it right. So you keep making that ice cream until you find the perfect recipe, and then we'll all be very interested in it. So Chris says, oh no, Beth, I agree with you, but I wouldn't be silent. Yeah. And tell them to stay in their car, please go on. Yeah, it's really difficult however, it's difficult to judge as well, Beth, because maybe the reason that a 3-week-old was in the store was the mother didn't have anybody that they could leave the 3-month-old with. She might be a single mom. Yeah. So keep playing at it, Nyasha. We're all fascinated. I'm creative, Nyasha says. I am out of the box thinker, but I guess now I know better. Thanks for the tips. Yeah, I would definitely not be adding flour. Cream makes it creamy, not flour. Flour needs to be cooked. Yeah. So, and as you go into this week, remember, make it I can week. Concentrate on what you can do. All right. Stop concentrating on what you're losing. Concentrate on what you are able to create, what you're able to grow, what you're able to see, who you're able to phone, who you're able to see on FaceTime. Work on doing this. Work on being thankful for everything we have. All right, so Jeannie's saying my sorbet was relatively easy. Some strawberries, frozen mangoes, a few pieces of ice in a blender. It was delicious. All right, you have a blender. Maybe Nyasha doesn't have a blender. That is a possibility. All right. So we forget sometimes that she's living in a different reality. She's living in Trinidad and Tobago, and in Tobago, the island of Tobago. So she might not have some of the appliances that you may have. So be thoughtful of it. Anyway, but it's a nice idea for the blender idea to make sorbet. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed the quotes. I just felt that I probably will do a lot more uplifting quotes while we go through this. Wow, that's easy. Sandy's saying, thank you, Mama Sal. I chose to listen and ponder quietly today. I'm dealing with a lot, and I just needed to hear your words. I wish they were mine. Much smarter people than I said those words. But you know something, Sandy? If I can help in any way, you just write, right? You feel free to write to me. I do need you to understand that. And just write to me at DearMamaSal at gmail.com, honey. And I'll, do what I can. That's why we're here, is to help people through the tough time. Yeah, Nyasha, I wondered whether you had a blender or not. Everybody assumes that everybody has one, but I've lived in a third world country, and I know that sometimes we don't. So I understand. However, you could probably still do it, Nyasha. I think if you had a pretty good thick plastic bag, you could probably crush some ice and then crush the strawberries. What else did you? And then put the yogurt in, mix it all up, and do you have a freezer? And then put it in the freezer. I think it would probably be possible to do if you've got yogurt, of course. Yeah, Jeannie, you know something? You know, I know that you would never have said that if you'd thought. You know, we do assume that everybody has all the stuff that you've got in your kitchen. And so, yes, just saying, yes, Sandy, Mama Sal's voice is soothing. It's a tough time, but when I join the broadcast, it all melts away. Isn't that lovely? You used a little apple juice and not yogurt. Isn't that interesting? That's nice to know. If you have apple juice, that is great. All right, everybody. So keep seeing what you can do. And you know, Nyasha, I think you're going to find lots to do if you want to. I'd love to see you trying to grow some vegetables. I think you'd enjoy doing that. Because I think you've got a bit of ground around you. Am I correct? That you maybe can, and I know you're good at making containers. All right. And so look what I did. These are just plastic milk bottles that I cut in half. Okay. So, you know, you can make your own containers and you could probably end up feeding the family if you got this right. Sakura, thank you. Sakura is saying, I agree. I love to be with you, Mama Sal, and everybody here. Yes, thank you. I totally agree. It is the strength that we have together. The fact that we can take the time to stop and get together and support one another, that is so precious. Right, Nyash is saying, I believe all the yogurts are finished on the shelves. We didn't buy any, unfortunately. Yeah. So do you know how, you know, think about, can you make yogurt? You know that yogurt is something you can make, right? And to make a yogurt starter, I'm pretty certain that you'll find how to do that online. By the way, I heard from Linda. Hang on a sec. You know, I'd saying to Linda that, you know, I just mix my stuff together and put it in the, this is making bread, and put it in the fridge. Now, this is my starter from yesterday, but what I wanted to tell you was the starter that I made last week when I was talking to Linda stayed in the fridge. And yesterday I made whole wheat bread from it. And so it's just like, it breaks all the rules of what you're meant to do, but all I know is it sure works for me. And, you know, I accidentally bought a sack, not a sack, but a big bag of potatoes instead of a couple. And I'm going, I really need to use up some potatoes now. And obviously, I'm going to keep a couple of them and let them get sprouts on them so I can plant them. But the other thing what I did was I went, oh, I bought too much in the way of leeks and I bought too much in the way of potato. So I made leek potato soup last night. And it was so good. I'm going to mix some more. I've got my potato ready. But it was just like, you know, make a plan. You can do this. Yeah, and Yasha's going to look for that yogurt recipe now. Okay, everybody. So big hugs to you all. You know how to get hold of me if you're overwhelming at all. And please continue to join in where you can, because being here helps us all. So I want to say to all of you, yeah, Jeannie's saying, great, remember when I did it recently? Yes, I think that's what's inspired me to do it, Jeannie, to give you credit. Although I can't remember physically thinking about that, but I'm going, wait a minute, I've got too many leeks and too many potatoes. I guess that's leek and potato soup. But it was really good. All right, and it didn't spike my blood sugar at all. In fact, my blood sugar was down this morning. So that's why I really liked it. Yeah, so all of you, thank you for for caring enough about one another to be here. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, work on what you can do this week. Get creative. Don't be lonely. If you are lonely, it means you're not doing enough to stay in touch with somebody. All right? If you are lonely, it's because you're not doing enough to be in touch with people. That's your warning sign. Hello. If I am lonely, I haven't done enough. That's what Jody was talking about. If you are anxious, you haven't done enough. All right? You're too busy thinking, you are not spending enough time doing. And that is what I'm going to challenge you all to keep aware of. Nyasha, have you got it in your brain now that the fact that your cousin died and you couldn't be there to say goodbye to them at the funeral is not affecting your cousin? It only affects the family. And the family needs to deal with it and have a memorial service of some sort afterwards, regardless of whether the tradition says that you must all get together and do it. It's called, that's under normal times. These are not normal times. So Nyasha, let it go. We need to be safe, not sorry. We need to be prepared, not scared. And yes, as Jody so rightly says, we are sorry for your loss. But again, let us all be prepared to lose somebody within our sphere of influence, because it's going to happen. So let us be prepared and not scared. So I love you all, and I will see you hopefully next week. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, continue to look after one another, but please stay safe. Please do what you can to not make more trouble. You know, if there are two of you, send one person out, not two. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.